Hello YNABers, my name is Jesse Meekum from YNAB. It stands for You Need a Budget. You do. We all do. Every one of us needs a budget. Today I want to talk a little bit, kind of go conceptually into what the budget is and maybe how to think through your money. This framework should help you answer questions that may crop up when you run into new issues. So when you're thinking, oh, how do I handle this rental property in the budget, or how do I handle this small business in the budget, you'll run into quirkier issues than just recording your spending, and in this way we can kind of walk through a way to think about it that should hopefully help you navigate those waters. So if you imagine for just a moment that all of your money is just in one big box, right? That's all your physical money. When I say physical money, I mean just money you'll spend on a card or actual cash, things like that. So you've got this physical money, and then to keep ourselves organized, we do divide the money into accounts. So you may have a credit card account over here and another credit card account over here. You may also have some cash that you actually have sitting in your checking account. Maybe you have a savings account, maybe another savings account for a specific job. A lot of people that haven't used YNAB yet, they will often break their money up into savings accounts, physical, separate locations, so that they can make sure they keep the money away from themselves, to protect themselves from overspending, or spending money that has maybe another purpose. Maybe you even have a little tiny account that's like that cup holder in your car, and that has some change in it, right? We don't necessarily care about that, but at some point you decide, I'm going to set up a budget, and the budget's job is to do the job of a lot of these physical accounts where we say, oh, we put our Christmas money here and we put our travel money here, and this is just kind of our separate savings account here. We aren't sure exactly why. And here's our Visa that we use for blah, and here's our Amex that we use for blah, blah, whatever. So all of those different physical locations, we ignore that in YNAB. We just say, listen, we want you to overlay a budget, and then from the budget, you can then decide what you want to do. So how you should spend the money, what the purpose is for that money. And at the end of the day, where the money physically sits isn't nearly as important as what your intention is with that money. And then, of course, you stick to that intention. So if you were to say, well, now we want a budget, you may say, well, I don't care about the money in the car, cup holder. Fair enough. So we'll just go ahead and say, we're going to put this budget just write all these accounts, they're going to be budget accounts. Then the question is, how do you access the money in here? And the answer is with categorization. So when you record money that flows in or record money that flows out with outflows, now that you have that black border around there, that is the budget representation, when you spend money, the gate in or out of the budget, but when you're spending money, so the gate out of the budget is the categorization. So when we talk about tracking accounts, those don't actually have categories because those aren't on the budget. Those are just there for you to track other things. Honestly, you can track some weird things. We have people that track time in tracking accounts and calories. It's strange, but they do it. So we have this budget here, and the gate is the category. So when you categorize this outflow, it goes out. And that tells the budget, hey, we're leaving, we're exiting, right? And then when you categorize an inflow, that's telling the budget that we've got money coming in. Now, just to hit one little point as it relates to credit cards, this is why we handle credit cards the way we do, where you have money that you have borrowed. So you essentially have this is a little bit tricky, but for the time where you walk up to the cashier at the grocery store and you've got your credit card there and you swipe it, Amex basically just gave you an inflow into that card. So it flows in, right? And then it immediately, I shouldn't have written it there, it immediately flows out. And you've now got this liability. Well, where does the money flow out? And in YNAB's scenario, we actually set up this little special credit card category for your Amex right here. And these two are just absolutely linked at the hip. So when Amex spots you that $100 to buy the groceries, you swipe, and right when you swipe, they say, here's $100. And then right when that happens, you go to the grocery store and you say, there's $100. Well, we haven't actually sent that money to the grocery store yet, right? We've just effectively set it aside to send to them. That's one way of looking at it. Another way is to say, Amex gives you the money, and then you immediately say, thank you for the money. I'm going to set it aside and say this is for Amex later. Of course, Amex actually paid the grocery store, right? So Amex gives you the money and you say, thanks for the money. I'm going to put it in this other pocket that is called for Amex, and it just sits there. Now, the reason that these don't leave the budget is because you haven't actually had any cash leave your system yet. So you just said, I got some cash from Amex. It just magically appeared here, the magic of credit cards, right? I got it from Amex here. I'm just going to put it in this little category over here. Finally, when you make the payment to Amex, the institution, not to talk about Amex, the card, but when you actually are making the payment to this bank over here, okay, then, and only then, do we treat it in this very special way where the outflow, I'm going right-handed now, where the outflow goes to the bank. Now I should have actually written it from here. The outflow goes from that little special pocket to Amex, and the cash leaves your system. At that point, the category acts as that gate again and says, oh no, wait. But in this instance, with the categorization, it's a little bit messy because credit cards are messy. And if you use them, you're just saying, I'm accepting a little bit of mess. You just realize that when you're categorizing inside here, in this special case, you're not actually having money leave the budget yet. You're just having it leave and go to the for Amex category. And then finally, when you make your credit card payment, the money actually goes to Amex, the institution. It gets super confusing here with credit cards. So there's one thing you can do. You can go over the credit card videos. You can reread what we've written there. You can rewatch this video, heaven help you. And you can kind of get that, okay, what we're doing here is not, cash hasn't left, we're just setting it aside, and then we send it when we actually make payment. That's cool. The other thing you can consider doing is using fewer cards. Just having one to track instead of 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 is far easier. The other thing you can do is just consider not using cards at all. I personally like to use a card. I don't use it for the rewards or anything like that. I'm not sure exactly why we use it. The rewards are fairly minimal, but you know, we've been doing it for so long. There's so much stuff connected to it. We're kind of stuck with it. And honestly, if I can see that my payment that I've set aside here, that category balance, equals the actual credit card balance, I know that everything's in balance. It's all in sync. So hopefully that kind of helps you get a grip on what the budget means, what the categorization means, and you can kind of start to see the budget as this entity or as this place where money comes and goes, and inside that place, all money has a purpose. Again, that is the most critical aspect. Your money has intention attached to it, and that's where you get a lot of power, a lot of resolve, a lot of will, a lot of great decisions. That's why we budget. See you guys next week.